episode of For Such a Time as This. Today I want to talk with you about prayer, and specifically how God answers prayer. Even more specifically, how he's probably, most likely, answering prayer during this time of COVID-19. I think this is something that Christians always struggle with, is we pray for something and then we're looking for an answer from God and we feel like we don't get it. But sometimes I wonder if we're looking in the wrong places. There's an amazing little story about the Apostle Paul. In the book of 2 Corinthians, he's having a very difficult time. The whole book is filled with pain and difficulty. And the Apostle Paul says he's crying out to God for comfort. He's praying, he's seeking God. And then God answers his prayer. God gives him the comfort that he's asking for. As he's praying it, all of a sudden the door opens. And who walks in? It's not Jesus. Jesus doesn't walk in the room and answer to his prayer for comfort. God himself does not walk into the room. He does not send the Archangel Michael or some other angel to answer the prayer. No, it's far less spectacular, but it's still God's answer to prayer. The door opens, and in walks a man named Titus. Titus is just an ordinary Christian guy, nothing spectacular about him, but he is God's answer to Paul's prayer for comfort. And within just a short while of Titus being in the room with Paul and them talking and fellowshipping, Paul realizes he has been comforted and his prayer has been answered. And here's what he writes in 2 Corinthians chapter 7. He says, "But God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us by the coming of Titus." By the coming of Titus. That should teach us then that God is always answering our prayers, but it's often in a far less spectacular way than we think. Other people are often the number one way that God answers our prayers. So just the encouragement that someone else gives you, that is God himself meeting with you through another person. You're looking for guidance maybe. You're wondering, how should I make a decision? You ask someone else's opinion. It could be that that person's opinion is God himself giving you guidance. You seek forgiveness from God and your conscience is still bothering you. You're still feeling upset and you're not feeling like you have been forgiven. Then you begin to talk with another Christian and they begin to share with you. And all of a sudden you realize, my conscience is clean. And my heart feels lighter. Like when Paul himself, when he was Saul, when he was killing all the Christians, putting them in jail. And all of a sudden, when he had turned to Christ and he was blinded, he was waiting and waiting. And in walks Ananias. And Ananias' first words are, "Brother Saul." In other words, "Welcome, Saul. You're part of the family." And in that moment, the scales fell from Saul's eyes. In other words, he experienced the forgiveness of God through the response of Ananias. So my encouragement for you today is to look for the answers for your prayers in the people of God. To be paying attention to what God may be teaching you through others. And here's the follow-up. How can you be the answer to someone else's prayers? Is there someone you can encourage today? Is there somebody that you can just call up and just say, "I'm seeing how you're doing"? Maybe God has led you to do that because he wants to comfort that person through you. What an amazing verse this is. God, who comforts the downcast, comforted us by the coming of Titus. Let's be Titus, and let's look for the Tituses in our life.